All right. What day is it? It is Saturday evening here in Washington. My name is Garrett Prettyman, and we're about to talk about how to take charge of love and romance in your marriage. Let's talk about these three things that we do want to cover in this call. How leadership in the bedroom looks different depending on the season of your relationship. Okay. It's important to notice, and we'll get into this obviously, but seasons, right? The right thing at the right time. Because you can get the right advice, but if it's for the wrong season, you are going to be very frustrated with the results. Another topic I want to cover is how to read between the lines so that you can address the real issue. I'm sure this is something you can relate to of when your partner tells you something and you can tell there was something else that she meant or something else you should have noticed, but you didn't quite catch it. It can get confusing if you don't know how to read between the lines. And how to spot the signs when she desires you to be more assertive in the bedroom, when she desires you to be more bold. Of course, for us guys, when we think of the bedroom, we're talking about affection, we're talking about intimacy, we're talking about closeness, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally, right? The whole range of a relationship. So I will talk about myself for a minute. If you guys have never met me, my name is Garrett Prettyman. I'm an associate coach at Good Guys to Great Men, and I also run my own private coaching practice where I am specifically working with men. I'm working with men who are wanting to develop a new sense of confidence and inspiration about how to create the relationships they want, how to create the lifestyle they want, and for it to be very meaningful and purposeful. Most guys that come to me are in a struggling relationship, and that's something I can really relate to. For several decades, I really tried hard just to lean into my common sense and be the lone ranger out there trying to be a great husband, thinking he could make marriage work because he was a smart guy. And I found out when I was faced with divorce, when I was faced with my wife's emotional affair, when I was faced with heartbreak that was so bad I couldn't get out of bed anymore, didn't want to go keep going, I realized that maybe I do need help. And this is typical of us guys. Until we're so stinking lost that there's literally not even a possible thought in our head about where home is from here, then we stop at the gas station and we're like, hey, man, can you give me some directions? There's no cell service around here. I don't know my way home. For some reason, us guys just really want to keep trying until we've hit zero and then we reach out for help. So a lot of a lot of men I'm working with are at that place. They've realized, you know what? Maybe somebody else has been down this road and they have some advice. I've connected with men personally who I look up to, who have been great inspirations and have really opened my eyes to how the world works and what the role of man is in this world. It's almost a lost art of how does masculinity step in? We're not like we're born with some unique traits and some unique gifts to bring to the planet, but culture has made it a little gray on what that's supposed to look like or what that is. So a lot of men are confused on what am I supposed to even be doing as a husband to be maybe like a great husband, a great lover, a great leader. So that's what I'm all about. Getting guys to trust themselves again so that culture can trust men again. By the way, I do have an ebook that I am almost finished with. It's finished enough that I'm giving away free copies of it now. If you wait until after this video, or maybe you see this as a recording and you're watching it and you go to download this, you may see a different cover. You may see a few different chapters added in at some point. Because as I'm compiling this, I have enough of it out that it's pretty worth the value to just read what I've got so far. But as I'm clarifying it, I'm changing the title of the book actually. I'm changing some of the earlier chapters to set the foundation a little better. But I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen for a moment because I will go ahead and paste the link to this in the chat so you guys can have a copy because it does apply to what we're talking about tonight and it goes into it a little bit deeper. I had one guy the other day who was struggling for the download to work, but it's been okay with everybody else. I have another site I hosted on too. If you're in a country that might restrict downloads or something from my area, not sure what he ran into, honestly. I think that's what it was, though. So, the topic at hand, how leadership in the bedroom looks depending on the season of your relationship. Now, I've made a YouTube video on this that has a lot of views, and I've shared this with a lot of men I've worked with. I've shared this with men who have reached out for consultations. So I didn't just create this today for this slide specifically. but I am going back to this once again because it has so much truth in it. I didn't create this on my own. I am revealing to you the findings of Dr. Jed Diamond when it comes to the 5 stages that every relationship does go through. And I can relate to this so much. I was like, wow, I'm just going to start telling guys about this because it really helps me think clearly about what's going on. The 5 relationship seasons fueled by her fear. I added the fear parts because what I noticed is the common denominator as our relationships evolve is as feminine, a woman who's in her feminine energy, who's leaning towards her feminine mind and her feminine essence, has a lot of fear because it's a vulnerable place to be feminine. It's very raw. It's very creative and expressive and open to anything. And so there's always a fear that's with the feminine carry that we don't. The example I always use is like I went out to my truck today because I forgot my backpack in there. And as I walked out to my truck and got my backpack and came back in the house, I didn't even have one thought that, oh man, what if somebody kidnaps me or mugs me? Now, sure, if you're in a bad side of town, you might think that. But like for a woman, everything she does, there's this undertone of fear that what if she's in danger? What if there's something to get her? What is there's something after her? What if there's dangerous men there and I can't protect myself? Like this undercurrent of fear, you see it even in nature when you see the mother animals very protective and cautious as they go out to feed, like where's the predator? And what we experience when we meet women and we get into relationship with them is that the first encounter, that's the new relationship season. We are living a life of some kind. And something about our life is interesting to her. I find it entertaining when you watch a woman go through a dating app and she's swiping on different guys. It's from a whole different place than what us guys are looking for. You know, we're like, oh, she's hot. Oh, she's not. Oh, I probably could kiss her. Oh, not her. For the girl, she's more looking into like, does he seem secure about himself? Does he look creepy? Does he look like a man who is self-assured, or is he just needy and desperate? Like she's really trying to read into like, is he safe? Is he trustable? And she's trying to decide that based on how he dresses and what he's doing with his life. And so in this new relationship season, there's a mystery to you because she doesn't know you fully, but you gave obviously some kind of essence that she found attractive. And she wanted to get to know you better. Well, as she started getting to know you in this early stage, you were that free man that was living a life, doing things, having friends, just obliviously doing what you thought was great, like maybe holding down a job or going kayaking on the weekend. And that attraction was high as she wanted some of that to be what her life gets to have too. And you seem to be the provider and creator of those experiences. So she starts hanging out with us. She starts falling in love with us. We start hanging out with her. A relationship forms, and her fear is still the undercurrent because she's thinking, what if he's still seeing other girls, or what if we never get married, or what if I'm wasting my time and he doesn't even want to marry me, and we just date for 10 years and then he leaves me? Like all this uncertainty is always under the surface, and the man steps in with his leadership to resolve these uncertainties. He's the one that gets on the knee and proposes. He's the one that says, "Yeah, baby, we're gonna be a thing. I'm not hanging out and talking with old Susan anymore. She's my ex. I deleted her from my phone. It's just you and I. We're getting married in December." And then she's like, "Well, where are we gonna live? We're gonna live here. What's the income gonna look like? Well, this is my job. Are we gonna have children? Yes or no?" Like the man is really settling a lot of fear. But the problem is as we're settling her fear, if you don't come from a secure place of knowing the life you're creating for yourself, that you do love, that is inspiring, that is amazing, you create a life to make her happy, and there is a sense of fulfillment in, saving the damsel in distress, but you've become monogamous. You've become predictable. You've become domesticated. And honestly, you're kind of boring now. Some of that edginess of you has been tamed, and you know what us guys are like in that stage. I had a dad bod. I had a dad belly. I gotta let some things go. Cause like, all right, this marriage is floating along. We're just doing life now. And we have sex every Sunday night at 7:15. And every Thursday she gets off work early and we get to go for a walk. Like the routine sets in of what's going on. And is there pets? And is there feeding time? Is there children? Is there school? Is there schedules? And you just are doing life. Our attraction is the absolute lowest over that season because by settling her fear, we've actually taken away a key component in a woman's ability to have attraction towards us, and that's the wanting, the desire to have. And when we've when we've settled these fears like this, she no longer has that sense of like, what's next? Where is this going? It feels like she's stuck. Because if the man is not continually applying himself to something that keeps challenging him or inspiring him or moving him forward in his growth, not just like in your work or in your hobbies, but also in your emotional world and your ability to lead conversations and your ability to handle bigger things in life, like that's what makes you feel like this is going somewhere. It's improving. It's a journey of life that is not not stagnant. And so what happens though, because us guys weren't aware of this, is we do get complacent, we get relaxed, and we just assume that I married this girl, she'll be here till I die. She enters a disillusionment season. She starts to think, man, maybe I married the wrong guy because I don't feel love for him anymore. I don't feel attracted to him anymore. He doesn't light me up like he used to when I meet him. And she starts to question, maybe this relationship is the wrong one for me. Maybe the universe has a different person. And honestly, when she starts feeling like that, she closes off. She isn't as affectionate. She isn't as uh, not wanting to have sex as much. And so we can kind of start to feel the distance in the relationship too, the familiarity, like we're feeling it too. So we too can feel that disillusionment by this stage. And this is exactly where most men are at when they reach out to me and when they join calls like we're on tonight. And that's why I circled it in red because I'm speaking to this season. Okay. There's things you can do in the new relationship season that'll make the spiciness of your bedroom be something else. And there's seasons you can do in the bedroom or, ways to show up to lead love and affection in your marriage when you're in the long-term season after you've gotten through the disillusionment season that are also hot and spicy, erotic and fun. But if you try applying them in this disillusionment season, it will blow up. Now, this call is not going to cover the many different things that are involved in these different seasons. Like when I'm coaching a guy, we're working on this stuff for months because there's a lot. When I just say that right there, that a long term love season is built on a life of shared values, that's one statement, but that is unpacked into many layers of what that actually looks like and how you do that with clarity and how you lead that with a smirk on your face. So that's another call for another time. I talk a little bit more about it in my book, but tonight, once again, I am speaking to men in this disillusionment season. She doesn't know if she loves you, and you're not sure what to do because the bedroom's going flat, intimacy's going flat, her desire for you is going flat. You'd really like to turn things around so that it's close and good again. What taking charge of intimacy in the disillusionment season does not look like. So we're going to look at the counterfeit bills for a minute before we look at what the genuine currency is. So this is the do not enter zone. Okay, if you are in the disillusionment season, and notice when I worded for this call, I was like, about taking charge of the love and intimacy department. And for some reason, in a man's logical brain, the first thing that comes up for me, at least, I'm like, oh, you mean like pushing past that hesitancy I have and just going for it? Really just uh, initiating more, even though it's hard and I might get rejected, but just go for it. Like, no, that's not what I'm talking about when I say like pushing for more intimacy or taking charge of more intimacy or leading more intimacy. If you're pushing for more intimacy at this stage, you're leading the wrong thing. If you're out there trying to get new sex toys and you're trying to have different intercourse positions and you're trying to have role plays with her or try new kinky stuff, thinking that's going to bring the fun back to the bedroom and you're in the disillusionment stage, that is going to blow up in your face. If you keep trying to rub her back and being handsy with her, to see how far you can get every time you get your fingers on her, that's also going to shut her down. Arranging dates with the end goal of being, oh yeah, then I'll get laid by tonight and the marriage will be juicy again. That too is not how you want to be taking charge of intimacy during the disillusionment season. Trying to be more direct by asking her for sex. Like there is a time for that. There is a time where she will be turned on by your unapologetic request for what you want and holding to that like a secure man. But in the disillusionment season, I don't care how clear you make it to her that you would like to make love to her. That is not the path to love. I know that confused me for a while until the concept clicked in my head one day that it's not that she questions your love for her in the disillusionment season. It's that she questions her love for you. So your love might be strong. Your love might be passionate. Your love might be something you could write 10 pages about. And even if she comes to you and says that she doesn't feel loved, she doesn't feel cared for, she doesn't feel prized, that too is not her telling you that you don't love her. It's trying to communicate that she doesn't feel loved. So this goes back to again about being able to read between the lines, which we'll talk about in a minute. So I've gone down this rat hole trying to educate her about sexuality. You know, baby, I watched a video the other day, and apparently, if a couple doesn't have sex at least once every 400 years, they end up getting divorced. So we got to do this. Stats aren't going to turn things around. There's no bit of information you can read or article you can send that just is you taking charge of intimacy now in this season. Boldly voicing your needs. Like, I don't care how raging your hard on is and how clear you make it to her that this is happening for you. That is not the path to taking charge of intimacy right now. Trying to involve her in sex workshops. So, there's the oh, I spelled that wrong. That's supposed to say tantra. There's breath work, there's erotica uh, programs. Like, there's a lot of deeper things that sexuality can go to. And you can get involved with those things with your partner and you can deepen those areas, but not in the disillusionment season. For us men, as you activate the the erotic side of intimacy in our minds, it feels more fulfilling, more on fire, more connected, more emotionally bonded. Like, we go there because that's what makes us feel like this is a really good relationship. But that's not how women feel that way. And so the more we try to make her operate to what we operate by, the more it doesn't work. We have to reckon with how she's wired and how she works. Yeah, being brave enough to just throw her to the wall and go for it tonight, that's not you taking charge of intimacy. It's not that you've been too hesitant or you've been, too soft and indirect on leading direct physical contact with her. Like, that's not the problem right now. So during the disillusionment season, everything above will shut her heart and body off, and it makes her feel like she's an ice queen. Okay, so let's talk about what leading intimacy in the disillusionment season does look like. So it does look like tuning into where she is emotionally and showing understanding without judgment. Leading conversations to be about the heart of the matter, not the logistics. Facing elephants in the room. So that takes that takes big balls, and that is you leading intimacy when you know there's something swept under the rug right now and we're both dancing around it. And if you're facing elephants in the room, that shows uh, strength, that shows leadership, that shows your heart. And if you just tuck her down and hope it goes away on its own, that demonstrates weakness. That demonstrates lack of clarity. That's not you leading intimacy. Hoping it gets better. Like, it doesn't. It doesn't get better. We have to bring up the hard stuff. We have to lead the difficult conversation. We have to go there and not wait for her to bring it up. And leading a positive tone, even when she brings up the past or blames you. That is leadership. It's like a big mess of things getting thrown on the floor, but you still charting your course. That's leading the way through chaos. Leading excitement about the life you're creating without needing her to change. I know how easy it is to get in the trap of like, well, life sucks really bad right now because my wife's not on board. And so, it's just miserable and horrible right now. But until you can create excitement without her, there's nothing to invite her to your life. That's what you had when you first met her. There was something about you, and you might even be oblivious about what it was, but there was something where it made you seem exciting. And you weren't doing it for her. You were already doing it. You could go on a date with 20 different women and only one of them might kind of like you. And so the one that you married is that one that did find that one thing you were doing exciting. And are you still doing it? Or are you still facing or finding new things that excite you? Are you still being the man who has an epic, amazing life? And if she comes in your life or she goes out of your life, you still are doing it because it's who you are. The leadership to intimacy at the disillusionment season also includes leading her out of her head and into her body. And you really do that by not taking things personally. The second you take something she said personally, you're leading the conversation to be about you're basically nitpicking what's wrong with what she proposed. You're reacting to how it made you feel instead of seeing how she's just trying to help you feel how she see how she feels. So it's a call to leadership when you're challenged like this because the ball's in your court. If you're going to take it personally, you've led it there by responding from that place. If you choose to see this as a window of opportunity to connect with her and you go that way, you've led it there by letting that be your response. So the leadership looks more like that in this season. And so you're remaining chill and open and responsive during difficult conversations, where maybe before you'd justify yourself or try to help her see the other side clearer because obviously she doesn't understand me correctly. Or maybe in the past you weren't remaining responsive. You'd numb out, you'd tune out, you'd walk away, and she was just left with her emotions with no guidance or leadership because you just dipped out hoping they'd pass on their own. So leading detachment by not reacting to her feelings or trying to fix them. I'm using road signs here on the screen because this is really start thinking of your wife's emotions like road signs, not instruction manuals. Even if the sign says things that look like direct instructions, it's still through a feminine woman's mind, it's an expression from a place. And she's trying to help you see what it feels like in that place. So when I'm talking about leading from the heart and not the logistics, you're going to notice what the sign says, but then you're going to think, what would it feel like for a person to even say that? And I'm going to connect with that instead. That deeper skill like that is it's a mature man. It's not a little boy. There's a lot of young bucks you can bump into that are completely oblivious to this specific aspect of life. And when you speak to older, more mature men or men that have been through a lot, like life can mature you. There's guys that were mature by 12 years old because their dad died and their mom was starving and they had to just become an adult now. And there's other people that are 65 years old and still aren't adults. They're still little boys. Like life is what matures you. And once you've matured to this point, you'll be able to see these deeper things that are happening and be able to connect with that and respond from that place. And that's really what the relationship is calling for to get out of that disillusionment season as well, is that next level of how life can be done, that next level of how relationships can work. So the behaviors above help her feel that heart to heart connection with you. Until she feels a meaningful heart to heart connection with you, her body will be turned off by your touch. This is why, and this is exactly backwards to what men experience. We can kind of be in a conflict about if we like our wife. We can kind of be emotionally upset. We can kind of be closed off and not really connected to ourselves, or we can be really caught up in our heads and stressed out about things. And the second our beautiful partner comes in, drops all her clothes and invites us to her beautiful breasts immediately. Oh, my heart is back. I can feel again. Oh, things are warm. Things are close. Like that through our body, our heart is activated. And women are the polar opposite. Her heart, if it's not connected to, if it doesn't feel seen, if it doesn't feel valued, if it doesn't feel like we look at it in high regard, her body can't turn on. So I like to describe that concept as a loop. It's a loop because if she could just set aside her feelings and just act on the physical thing that men need to fill their hearts, the loop would start. But because she's feminine and because she has to come from her feelings to do so, she usually can't. It's the man who's logical. It's the man who can notice this dynamic and go, oh, I see that somebody's got to initiate this love loop. She can't because she's in her feelings. I can because I'm a logical man. So I'm going to connect with her heart right now intentionally because I know that's what initiates the loop of her being able to feel her body again and to feel desire again and to want my body again. So it's not that you have to do these things to have a good relationship. It's that you were blessed that you get to do it as the masculine energy in your relationship. So how to read between the lines of what she says to address the real issue, preventing intimacy. If any of you have been in our courses or worked with me, I've sent you this little thing because it's so helpful. And this again is talking about how a mature man sees the deeper thing that's going on and he responds to that. So if she comes in the room angry and you want to be a man who leads the love and romance department in your marriage, if you address the anger, you are not leading love and intimacy. You're leading a shallow version of relationship. You're leading an early version of relationship that might have got you by for a few years or even a decade or two. But at this stage of relationship, you are called to a higher standard if you want to make this go forward. And not only do you need to notice the feeling that would make her be angry, it's like maybe she's literally just scared. Corner any animal when it's scared, and it's going to have a response that's pretty intense. So she might feel scared. She might feel cornered. Even that is not the deep thing. What's under that is something causing the feeling. And that is usually a desire for something. And the question is, do you create that thing that she desires? So because this is 2 layers deep, most men get hung up on the first thing because the anger sounds like this. How come I always have to bring out the trash? Can't you ever remember to bring out the trash? I feel like I've been bringing out the trash my entire life, and you've never helped me ever in the kitchen or anywhere in the world. And I'm running this entire family, and you're worthless. That's what the anger sounds like. And then the man's like, no, I didn't. I brought the trash out yesterday. Yeah, you're leading a very shallow conversation with a woman because you're completely not reading between the lines. The man is reading between the lines like, it ain't about the garbage. It ain't about any of this stuff she's saying. The stuff on the sign is not instructions. I'm not even going to engage with that. I'm going to get curious about what would make a person feel a certain way to even put that on the sign. And then I'm going to think, what would a person want who's in that state? Now, I put a note here on what's causing it to not be why. Because if you see anger and you go, why are you being this way? You're still not leading a deeper connection. Because the word why makes her have to use her brain. And if you want to be the masculine energy in the relationship, you need to let her be the feminine. And you let her be the feminine by not forcing her to use her brain. Feminine is like, you know, when a little girl has a hula hoop and she's out in the front yard on a sunny day and she's just spinning with the butterflies and she's lost track of time and she's just singing and just being a girl. Inside your wife is that little girl still that just wants to do that. There is no logic. There is no reasoning. There's no clarity or frame or anything. It's pure expression. It's pure emotion. It's pure just desire and feelings and whimsical stuff. It's a magical place, and it's what balances masculine. I've been sharing this to everybody I've been on a call with this week because it spoke to me so much. I saw a video this week where a man said, you know, take like 8 young teenage boys, put them in a room by themselves and watch what happens. They start horsing off. They start clowning around. They're giving each other a hard time. They start goofing off. They start getting into trouble. Like masculine, when you just take just the men and put them together, they tend to build this caveman like vibe of just it's rough. It's and you just take one pretty girl and you set her in that room with those teenage boys and watch what happens. The standard for behaviors is immediately raised with every one of those boys, and she didn't even have to do anything. She just had to be a pretty girl in the room. They start acting nicer. They start acting sweeter. They start watching the words they use. And she didn't even ask him to do this. It's because feminine balances masculine. Her essence of beauty and softness and creativity and expression of feelings and uncertainty and all the quirks that women do that are so opposite to us. It melts our heart. We can't help but be captivated by it. It calls us to a higher standard. It balances out our crude, rough life way of doing life. Never underestimate the power that your masculine has for feminine. You are what makes her feel safe. You are what gives life purpose for her. You are so many other things that without it, the women go into their own rat hole. They become these self-reliant, I don't need a man, harsh, critical, walled up, emotionally stoic versions of themselves to survive, which is not that higher standard of living that's nurturing and warm and affectionate. So our gifts are so valuable to her and hers are so valuable to us. That's what keeps the world in balance. So where I'm going with this is you're bringing the relationship out of balance when you're using the Y word with your wife a lot because you're making her use her brain, which is a logical place to go. And I like to tell guys, imagine you're putting all of the blood in her brain instead of her body. And why are you angry with me? Why are you calling me out on this again? Why are you bringing up the past again? Why do we have to talk about this every time your parents come over? That is not you leading the deeper thing. So look at these other two we have on here. We have the emotion of frustration. She might just be feeling that she's emotionally drained. And here she's talking about how you didn't change the toilet paper roll again. And we're trying to defend that. See, when I said don't take things personally, this is what I'm talking about. It ain't about the toilet paper roll. She might just feel emotionally drained. And if you read between the lines, you'll think to yourself, what, not why, what would a woman be feeling to even say this right now? And what is causing that feeling? Maybe she wants, what's the desire? What's the desire causing the feeling? It's probably that she wants to feel calmed or relaxed. So when she says, why haven't you changed the toilet paper roll again? A man who's reading between the lines goes, oh, she doesn't feel like I've created any relaxation for her recently. And she's in this tight area, or she's constricted, and that feeling is causing her to be frustrated about all these trivial things that don't matter. I guarantee you, when you first met and you were first dating and you were first having sex, that kind of stuff wasn't coming up in conversation. It wasn't a frustration, because that's what it's like when you get back to being in the correct poles of masculine and feminine. You really, the small stuff doesn't bother you as much. She's not as edgy. She's not the ice queen. She kind of lets stuff slide. She'll let you snore at night and not complain. It's only when these other things have been building up that all of a sudden now everything's annoying. Everything's a big fight. The last one here, she's feeling, maybe she's expressing hurt. Like maybe you said something to one of your buddies and now she's all, you really hurt me by saying that. I can't believe you'd say that. How could you tell him that when you know this is, and if you're going to have a conversation on those things she's putting on that road sign, again, you're not leading the love and intimacy. You're not taking charge of the love and intimacy in your relationship. You're letting her emotion control where this is going. So the man's going to set some leadership to this. He's going to set some direction to the chaos. He's going to notice that, man, what would a woman feel like to even think that's a hurtful thing to do? I don't think it's a hurtful thing to do. Maybe she's just really feeling rejected right now. Maybe what she wants, what's the desire under that feeling? Maybe what she wants is just to feel accepted and understood. How can I offer her that right now? You don't need a list of 400 things like this to use as a diagram to analyze everything your wife says. As you practice this with all ladies in your life, not just your wife. When you're talking to your mom, when you're talking to your sister, you're going to start to notice that it's a very simple step you can take to get to the meaning behind of what they're saying and to connect with the emotion. A little hack I like to tell guys is it's helpful to tune out most of what is being said, but tune in when you hear emotion words. Because when you hear things like scared, emotionally drained, rejected, it will leak out in her story in a very small part of the story that you'll probably miss if you're just trying to listen to the story. So when you hear those emotional terms getting used in the story she's telling you, those are windows for you to grab onto and go deep with. I can't help but mention right now that, when we think of like taking charge of the love and intimacy department in the marriage, that there are later stages where this kind of stuff is more solidified, where I do when I'm working with men, I talk about things like being deliberate with your body movements while making love to her. Like it's not just this, oh, let's see where this goes. And if she does something, I guess we'll go do that. It's more about a very deliberate holding of her that's intent. It has intent, and moving her on the bed and holding her in deliberate ways where you're showing that you have strength and you know where this is going and you have a plan and you're actually like using words to tell her like how to move or what you like. Like there's a lot of ways to lead a deliberate leadership in the love and romance department in the bedroom that apply in the later stage of your long-term relationship when you've reached that place of shared values and a sense of camaraderie around something that gives you both purpose. So just again, that is one side of taking charge of the love and intimacy in your marriage, just not the focus of this call. Okay, so How to spot the signs when she desires you to be more assertive in the bedroom. Because, like I just said, there is a time for it. There is a season where you do throw her to the wall, pin her wrist on the head, and you go for it and you give her the ride of her life. That is a form of intimacy, of affectionate love that is part of marriage. So I like to think of it like this. Imagine every woman, she has a light on her forehead. Now, when the light is red, I don't care how much lube, how much touch, how much affection, how much kissing, how much hugs or foot rubs or back rubs, or what you're going to do to her body, none of that will make her responsive. You can send her sexy memes all day on Facebook. You can text her juicy stuff. You can send her pictures of your ween. None of that is going to get her body turned on if the light on her forehead is red. Every time I talk to a man who's frustrated about getting rejected in the bedroom a lot, it's because he's been initiating when it's red. If you want a higher standard, you can't keep throwing yourself at the lower standard. But a lot of us didn't realize the signs. Like, we would just kind of test the waters a little bit to see if it was red and then get rejected and get all pouty and bummed about it and then maybe make a fuss about it at some point if it went on for too long. And we were letting her lead the relationship when we were in that reactive mode. But a red light means stop and allow her to feel a safe space to be in the emotional space she's in. I should put right now. She's in right now. So the red light means I am somewhere right now. Can you see me? Okay, a red light cannot be changed by you. So I don't want you to think of, oh, this woman has a red light on her forehead right now, so I need to change it to green. That's not the goal. The goal is just to see her where she is right now and to reckon that the light's red. So I'm not going to try to do something physically intimate for her right now. A red light means nothing about you. Again, even if this road sign she holds up has all the reasons why it is about you, you're going to look to those things behind it. You're going to look to the underlying experiences and desires that are really deeper that are causing it. And you're going to talk about that stuff with her and you're going to connect with that. Again, a red light is right now, not forever. Lights change. There is a yellow light, but honestly, I never settle for less than enthusiastic, passionate, intimate lovemaking. So if I see my partner's light is yellow, I treat it like a red light. I don't advance any further than as if that light was red because I I know what it's like to be in a relationship for years and years, and your intimacy is like it's like obligation sex. It's like she's in it, but she's not really into it. Uh, she's telling you things like, well, if you need to do your thing, go for it. Like, it's just like, this isn't the connected, desiring, intimate, close, passionate intimacy that I want. But if we settle for those scraps, then that's why you have it. Once I started drawing a line in the sand for myself as a boundary, and I noticed, oh, this isn't the standard that I like intimacy to be. It's not something to pout about. It's not something to try to change. It's something to not try to engage with as far as taking it to a physical level when you notice she's here. Because there's emotional levels you can still reach. There's a spiritual sense to relationships too. There's sides of intimacy that can still be tapped into right now that don't require us taking our clothes off. Once you start initiating only when the light is green, you'll experience what it's like to be able to then unhinge and go full 110% in what you want to lead as far as wild, physical, erotic intimacy, intercourse intimacy. That is when it's time to really take the lid off and let it all out, is when that light is green. It's invited, it's wanted, it's loved. So let's talk about what the signs are like when her light is green. So feminine women share their feelings indirectly and insinuate their intentions instead of making them clear. She does this because she wants to be taken, enveloped, contained. It's like this dream world she has. And it's your masculine leadership that takes her on this trip. So you hear different sexologists and self-help people say, like, sex is a place to go to. And it's a journey she gets to experience because you took her there. Well, it doesn't feel like that for her. If she just walks in the room and says, wow, I'm really wanting sex with you tonight, we should have sex in 10 minutes. Because that kind of took away part of the mystery to her. She wants to know, what's he going to do? When's it going to happen? How's it going to happen? What will it be like this time that's interesting? Again, if you're in the disillusionment season, that's not even on her mind. But when you get through it and you're getting the green light, that's how she wants to experience it. So your partner will drop clues when she wants you to go full hog. Her light is green. When she's doing things like she'll linger around you for no apparent reason. These are so subtle. They're easy to miss. But if you really know your wife and you really tune into her, you'll notice it's different. Like, she's hanging around my desk. I'm sitting here trying to send emails. She's just kind of hanging. And I'm like, why are you in here? Is what my first thought might be. But that's what she's like when her light is green and she's kind of wanting you to do something about it. She'll walk past you half dressed and then do something meaningless. Again, she'll be fiddling with something in the room and she has nothing on but a bra. And it's kind of out of place. It's like, why is she doing that? That doesn't need to happen right now. You could do that better if you were dressed, probably. Like, she's trying to drop these little clues, like, it's time to move forward, buddy. I feel connected to you. My heart feels open. I want to take this to a physical level now. She'll talk about her day excessively. I used to screw this one up royally because I could only take so long of her yabbling about her day where I was starting to think, this is exhausting. I don't have time to hear all this. Why are we still talking about this thing? The more a woman talks, the more her body is already turned on. Like, she's feeling the intensity of her erotic passion. That's what's driving the energy to keep her talking so much. So if you can see past what's happening on the first surface level and notice that this is being fueled by some kind of energy that's lighting her up. So notice her hips will be turned towards you when she's in this state. She's really talking a lot. She's talking about her friend and her work buddy and what she wants to do for Christmas, and her body, she'll tip her head towards you when you shoulder hug her. So you might just be walking through the kitchen, just having your normal afternoon, and you give her that little shoulder hug, like, all right, baby, I'll see you later. And she'll just kind of like turn her head in and cuddle it into your shoulder. You're like, oh, so that's a little sign. She's trying to tell you, baby, my body's on. Do something about it. Okay. She'll act snarky and teasing, but in a playful way. You can tell she's just being playful. She'll avoid eye contact while lingering, but with a slight grin. So when she's really feeling a lot, like her heart is connected to you emotionally, the bond is strong. Like we've established in this call that is foundational. She needs to feel that heart connection with you. Her body can't help but be opened and receptive towards you and wants you. And it can be scary. It's what makes women blush. It's what makes her kind of look away from you when she sees you, and she'll kind of have a grin on her face while she's doing that because she can't handle your energy. It's so strong and it's a desirable thing and it's getting her going. So what you want to avoid is asking her directly if she's in the mood. That will snuff out her desire almost every time because you're activating her brain. Remember, when a woman is in her sensuality, she's in her body, not her brain. And when you say, hey, baby, do you want to have sex tonight? You've just killed it. That's why you need to be able to read between the lines and notice these cues so that you're meeting her on this epic, envisioned, passionate thing that she's dreaming without killing it by getting in her head. Otherwise, it's as big of a turnoff as stripping her down, laying her on the bed and saying, baby, did we leave the car running? Hey, what do you think we're having for dinner tomorrow? Oh shit, did we leave the oven on? Like, you can see how that obviously is bad timing if you're having sex. Okay, well, that's what you're doing, basically, when you say, do you want to have sex? Are you in the mood? Hey, are you feeling horny tonight? Like, that direct way of engaging her brain is maybe successful sometimes, but in general, avoid that. She wants intimacy to be mysterious and whimsical, not logical and systemized. I know that some sexologists recommend like putting sex on the calendar and engaging in it regularly. Have your own truth on that. I haven't had good experience with it myself. It needs to be organic. That's the sex I like. That's the intimacy I like. I like it where she's so passionate, she's clawing at the wall trying to rip my shirt off. Like, I like that kind of intimacy. And to have that kind of intimacy, you have to allow it to happen when it happens and be okay when it's not happening because you know the buildup is what gets you there. It keeps intensifying until it can't be contained. And then it's amazing. And if you don't settle for anything less, that is where you will reach. So a couple of facts about the green lights. A green light means she's ready for you to boldly take a step towards intimacy. It does not necessarily guarantee she's ready for full blown physical intercourse because it's one step at a time. Example, she might jump in the shower while you're in there, shake her booty on you, and you might be like, "Oh, she's in the mood." And then she'll just like jump out of the shower and go back to her day. And you're like, "Well, what was that?" I call that a drive by. It means the energy is starting to build. Her body is starting to awaken and she's starting to feel playful, and the light is green for you to go one more step. That one more step might be that now she's ready for kissing. That one more step might be she's ready for you to, cuddle her while you watch movie tonight. And you're just going to enjoy whatever step that is. That's what you're going to do with it. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to think of it positively. You're going to hold her in high regard. And I tell guys a lot of times we don't realize the energy we're putting off, that it could be improved so much if we thought about her the way we thought about her when we first met her. When you had a crush on her initially, just the fact that she was in your house was a turn on. Regardless of what she was doing, there's a pretty girl in your house and it got you excited. And now she can be in your house and you don't give a crap. In fact, you'll come down there and you complain about something to her. Like you have to start thinking of her again of like, isn't it so cool that the girl I love lives under my roof? And when she sees you, you need to have that smirking look on your face and that twinkle in your eye of, oh man, I'm happy that that's a thing. See how that's a step way back from physical intimacy, but it is a step. And so when the light is green, you're going to take the next step. You're going to take the next step and enjoy where it is. If you start to hit resistance, you know that the light just turned red and you're not going to keep going. If you lean in for a kiss or pull her in close and you feel her body tense up, then go back to acting as if the light's red. This dance demonstrates you are in tune with her. The temperament you lead when you are met with her red lights is how she builds sense of trust and safety to go further with you next time the light is green. Never forget, a woman's attraction comes from how well we handle her red lights, not her green lights.